The tale of Titanic's doom is one that we've all heard before. The iceberg, the sinking ship, the tragic loss of life. But there's so much more to this horrific disaster than meets the eye. Join us on this thrilling journey as we reveal the heroic engineers and the bone-chilling truth behind the infamous iceberg. Here are 15 Titanic facts that have been hidden until now. Fact 15. Supermoon sunk the ship. Believe it or not, scientists suggest that a supermoon might have played a role in the Titanic's sinking. A supermoon caused an unusually high tide that pulled an enormous iceberg into the ship's path. This particular iceberg, which should have melted before reaching the Titanic, was preserved due to the strong supermoon tide. The alignment between the moon and Earth occurred on January 4th, 1912, just a few months before the Titanic sank. This unexpected iceberg and the Titanic captain's disregard for iceberg warnings might have been influenced by the supermoon's impact on ocean currents. Fact 14. The wreckage might vanish. When oceanographer Robert Ballard discovered the Titanic wreck in 1985, the ship appeared frozen in time, preserved by the harsh conditions over 3.5 kilometers below the surface. However, the Titanic is deteriorating rapidly due to deep-sea currents, metal-eating bacteria, and salt corrosion. The presence of the Halomonas titanicae bacteria, which feeds on iron and sulfur, has caused the ship's structure to collapse upon itself, forming grotesque stalactite-like formations. By 2030, the Titanic's remains might be reduced to a big pile of rust, erasing this iconic piece of history. Fact 13. Dog casualties. Among the heartbreaking casualties of the Titanic were 9 dogs on board, most of them kept in the kennel. During the ship's sinking, chaos ensued as someone freed the dogs, but tragically, most of them did not survive. One passenger, Anne Elizabeth Isham, refused to leave without her Great Dane, but neither of them survived the disaster. However, 3 lucky dogs did survive, including Lady, a Pomeranian, Sun Yat-sen, a Pekingese, and another Pomeranian belonging to Martin and Elizabeth Jane Rothschild. Fact 12. Bathroom issues. Titanic's passengers faced serious bathroom issues, especially those in third class, with 700 people sharing just 2 bathrooms and 2 tubs. It was a challenging and smelly situation. One tub was reserved for 200 women, while over 450 men had to share the other. First-class passengers had slightly better conditions with private bathrooms, but they went a whole week between baths, as was the norm at the time. The lack of proper hygiene facilities made the Titanic journey uncomfortable and unclean for many passengers. Fact 11. Many victims remain unknown. The sinking of the Titanic was a heart-wrenching tragedy that claimed the lives of over 1,500 people. The official figure of 1,514 deaths is well documented, but the true toll remains a subject of debate. Various sources suggest that the number of victims might be as high as 1,635. The confusion arises from difficulties in accurately accounting for everyone on board, as some passengers might have been listed under false names or aliases. Despite extensive efforts to recover bodies from the sea, only around 700 victims were retrieved. More than 1,000 souls remained unrecovered, sinking into the dark depths with the remains of the ship. To this day, the final resting place of many victims remains unknown, leaving families with an everlasting sense of loss and longing. Additionally, in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where many Titanic victims were brought after the disaster, 42 graves bear the names Known Only to God, or J. Dawson, representing unidentified individuals. While modern technology and DNA testing have helped identify some victims in recent years, the process remains challenging due to the passage of time and limited historical records. The lack of closure for these families underscores the profound impact the tragedy had on so many lives. Fact 10. The origin of the iceberg. The iceberg that dealt the fatal blow to the Titanic was not an ordinary piece of ice floating in the North Atlantic. Its creation and journey began 4 years before the ship's ill-fated voyage. Scientists from the University of Sheffield revealed that the iceberg's origin could be traced back to a period of warm and wet weather that caused glaciers to weaken and shed massive chunks of ice. The iceberg that struck the Titanic was a staggering 2 megatons in weight and measured an astounding 400 feet in length. To put that into perspective, it was approximately as heavy as 40 adult elephants or a small moon. This colossal chunk of ice had been drifting for years, waiting for the right moment to cross paths with the Titanic. The convergence of this behemoth iceberg with the Titanic on that fateful night in April 1912 resulted in a catastrophic collision that swiftly sealed the fate of the unsinkable ship and became one of the most profound maritime disasters in history. Fact 9. Optical illusion that sunk the ship. The fateful collision of the Titanic with the iceberg was partially the result of an atmospheric phenomenon known as superrefraction, a type of mirage caused by the bending of light in certain atmospheric conditions. This optical illusion occurs when layers of cold air sit below layers of warmer air, creating a false horizon that distorts the appearance and distance of objects. On the night of April 14, 1912, conditions were just right for this optical illusion to occur. The cold North Atlantic air played tricks on the eyes of the Titanic's lookouts, making the iceberg appear much closer than it actually was. As a result, the crew failed to spot the iceberg in time to change the ship's course or take evasive action. Furthermore, the nearby ship Californian, which was within view of the Titanic, failed to respond to the distress signals promptly. The mirage caused the rockets fired by the Titanic to appear much lower than they actually were, leading the Californian's crew to believe they were simply seeing white rockets and not distress signals. The combination of superrefraction and misinterpretation of the signals contributed to a critical delay in realizing the severity of the situation. This tragic optical illusion played a significant role in the rapid demise of the Titanic. Fact 8. None of the engineers survived. Among the many unsung heroes of the Titanic's tragic end were the engineers who worked diligently in the ship's engine room. A team of 24 engineers, including 6 electrical engineers, 2 boilermakers, a plumber, and a clerk, toiled behind the scenes to ensure the ship's propulsion and power systems ran smoothly. When the Titanic struck the iceberg, chaos ensued on the upper decks, and lifeboats were launched to evacuate passengers and crew. Amidst the mayhem, the engineers chose to remain at their posts, fully aware they faced certain peril. They understood that the ship's power needed to stay operational as long as possible to facilitate communication and the sending of distress signals. Their selfless dedication allowed the ship's lights to remain on, aiding the evacuation efforts and providing some comfort to passengers and crew in the dark, frigid night. The engineers worked tirelessly until the last possible moment, ensuring that distress signals were sent out to nearby ships, leading to the eventual rescue of some survivors. Fact 7. Evacuation drill was cancelled. As the Titanic set sail on its maiden voyage, passengers and crew members anticipated the usual lifeboat drill, a standard safety practice on ocean liners at the time. Lifeboat drills were intended to familiarize everyone with the evacuation procedures, ensuring that in the event of an emergency, passengers and crew would be well prepared to board lifeboats swiftly and safely. However, on the day the Titanic struck the iceberg, Captain Edward John Smith made the puzzling decision to cancel the scheduled lifeboat drill. The reasons behind this cancellation remain a subject of speculation, with various theories proposed over the years. Some historians suggest that Captain Smith might have wanted to prioritize other activities, such as holding a final Sunday service, as he was set to retire after this voyage. Others believe that he may have felt the drill unnecessary given the Titanic's reputation as an unsinkable ship. The decision to cancel the lifeboat drill proved to be a fatal oversight. When the emergency occurred, many passengers were unfamiliar with the evacuation procedures and the location of lifeboats. This lack of preparation contributed to delays in launching the lifeboats and led to a devastating loss of life. Fact 6. Musicians played till the end. The musicians on board the Titanic showed remarkable bravery and dedication during the ship's final moments. Despite the chaos and impending disaster, the band continued to play music to provide some comfort to the terrified passengers. They played in the first-class saloon and the ship's restaurant, trying to keep spirits up as the evacuation efforts were underway. Survivors testified that the last tune they heard from the band was Autumn, though accounts differ on the exact music played. Sadly, only 3 out of the 8 musicians' bodies were recovered, and Wallace Hartley, the band's leader, was found clutching his violin case when his body was discovered. Fact 5. SS Californian watched Titanic sink. The SS Californian was a nearby ship that witnessed the Titanic's distress signals and flares, but failed to respond promptly. The Californian's crew was asleep when they spotted the Titanic's lights and distress signals. Captain Lord, the ship's captain, brushed off the warnings, believing they were just company signals.
And back. There's no stopping it.
Despite the Titanic's urgent situation, the Californian's radio operator was busy sending passenger messages instead of prioritizing the distress signal. The delayed response of the SS Californian and its crew's failure to take immediate action could have contributed to the loss of more lives. Fact 4. It was a tragedy that could have been avoided. The Titanic's sinking could have been averted if several crucial decisions were different. The ship's watertight compartments, although considered innovative at the time, were not tall enough to prevent water from overflowing from one compartment to another. Additionally, the tops of the bulkheads were left unsealed, rendering them ineffective in containing water. The radio operator on board the Titanic was preoccupied with passenger messages instead of paying attention to iceberg warnings, and the SS Californian, despite witnessing the distress signals, failed to take timely action. These oversights and decisions contributed to the tragic fate of the Titanic. Fact 3. Human remains may still be in the debris. Despite numerous expeditions to the Titanic wreck, no human remains have been officially documented. However, a haunting photograph emerged in 2004, showing what appeared to be a boot and a leather coat among the debris. Federal officials remain concerned that undiscovered human remains may still be within the ship's unexplored chambers. The preservation of the wreck is critical to protect any potential human remains and to honor the memory of those who lost their lives in the disaster. Fact 2. The world's richest man was on board. John Jacob Astor, a prominent businessman and one of the wealthiest passengers on the Titanic, tragically lost his life in the disaster. Astor's wealth and diverse interests made him a notable figure of his time. He had authored a semi-scientific novel, invented various mechanical devices, and played a key role in building the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City. Astor's personal life was also subject to scandal, including a high-profile divorce and his marriage to 18-year-old Madeline Force. His death on the Titanic marked the end of a remarkable life, filled with achievements and controversy. Fact 1. People died before the voyage. The construction of the Titanic was marred by accidents and fatalities. 8 workers lost their lives during its construction, and 28 severe accidents occurred. Some of these accidents involved workers falling from the ship or its staging. One tragic incident saw a shipwright, James Dobbin, being crushed to death on the day the Titanic was launched, witnessed by a large crowd of onlookers. The high number of accidents during construction is a somber reminder of the dangers faced by workers involved in building this majestic ship. Alrighty folks, that's a wrap for this video. We hope you found it informative and enjoyable. So, what are your thoughts about these shocking Titanic facts? Share in the comments below. Moreover, if you appreciate our content and wish to stay updated on our latest releases, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.